Walk through almost any dealer yard in Australia today and it is a wall of near-identical turbo diesel dual cabs, price flags flapping, not a petrol ute in sight. The whole country has been told the same thing. If you want a ute that lasts, buy diesel, buy new, buy big. But some of the toughest, longest-living utes this country ever built actually run on petrol, and hardly anyone buys them anymore. Diesel still dominates the ute segment, while petrol ute sales have fallen sharply through 2026, which means these petrol options are cheaper and more overlooked than ever. And that is good news for anyone willing to ignore the fashion. We have found 3 forgotten petrol utes that quietly outlast the shiny new diesel everyone is financing. First though, let's set the benchmark with what the rest of Australia is actually buying. Number 4. The new turbo diesel dual cab ute. Walk onto any Aussie dealer yard and it's rows of these, all promising the world to tradies and farmers. Diesel's the default choice, no question. Market figures show diesel utes make up the overwhelming bulk of new sales, and models like the Ranger and Hilux just keep topping the charts. But let's be honest, a diesel badge and a shiny new warranty don't guarantee a ute that'll go the distance. Modern diesels are packed with tech, DPF filters, EGR valves, AdBlue tanks, high-pressure turbos. When they're humming, they're great. But when something lets go, the repair bill can make your eyes water. And it's not just the engine. Today's dual cabs are loaded with electronics, sensors, and emissions gear that can turn a simple fix into a saga. That's why, before we get to the petrol gems, this is the benchmark. The new diesel dual cab sets the standard for price, fuel economy, towing and payload, but also for complexity, parts cost, and the risk of a big out-of-warranty surprise. Every petrol contender has to prove it can do the job just as well, for less money, and with fewer headaches down the track. The question isn't just diesel versus petrol, it's whether you want to own a ute or have it own you. Number 3. The Ford Falcon ute, powered by that legendary Aussie Barra 4.0-litre straight 6. If you've ever worked a farm, run a small crew, or just needed a ute that'll start first crank after a month sitting in the shed, the Falcon's probably come across your radar. But here's the thing. In a market obsessed with diesels and touchscreens, the Falcon's become the underdog, cheap as chips to buy used, but hiding a reputation for going the distance that would make a new dual cab blush. Let's get into the heart of it. The Barra engine, Australian-designed, dual overhead cam, 4 litres of honest grunt. In its naturally aspirated form, you're looking at 195 kilowatts and 391 newton meters in the late models. Forget turbos and fancy badges for a minute. The workhorse spec was built to take a flogging. Cab chassis, tray-back, single cab, these things were the backbone of small business and country deliveries for years. The aluminium head keeps the weight down, but the block's all about strength, and the parts bin is still stocked even now. Remanufactured Barra engines? You'll find them listed for $3 to $5 grand, ready to slot in if you ever manage to wear one out. But here's where it gets spicy. There's a 2005 Falcon ute out there with 541,000 kilometers on the clock, still running. That's not some tall tale from the pub. Drive magazine actually featured it. Owner logs show plenty ticking past 300,000. And the Falcon faithful on Facebook swap stories of 600,000 Ks or more, some even nudging 1 million. Of course, that doesn't mean every Falcon's immortal. Rust, cooling issues, oil leaks, and a rough life on the tools can do them in. But if you find one with a clean history, regular servicing, and no dodgy repairs, you're in with a shot at serious long-term value. The last of the breed, a white XR6 ute, left Broadmeadows on the 29th of July, 2016. That was it. The end of Aussie-built Falcons. The end of the line for a ute that could cop a load, belt down a dirt road, and still get you home. Even now, mechanics know these engines inside out, and parts are everywhere. Timing chain kit? No problem. Need a crate motor? There's a bloke in every major city who'll sort you out. So why isn't the Falcon ute topping the sales charts anymore? Because the market's moved on, diesel's the darling, and the Falcon's seen as old hat. But ask anyone who's run one past 500,000 Ks. Sometimes Simple is exactly what you want. The Falcon Ute might not win a beauty contest, but for sheer, proven durability on a tradie's budget, it's still punching above its weight. Number 2, the Holden Commodore SS Ute, last of the line from the Elizabeth plant and a proper Aussie icon. If you've ever heard one of these rumble past, you know it's not trying to hide. The VF series ran from mid-2013 right up to October 2017, and with the plant's closure, that was it for locally built Commodore Utes. Most blokes see the SS badge and think weekend toy, but there's a lot more going on under the skin. The VF kicked off with the 6.0-litre LS 2V8, then halfway through 2015, Holden slipped in the 6.2-litre LS3. That's 304 kilowatts straight from the factory, a solid 28 up on the earlier version. The LS3's got a reputation for grunt, but what really matters here is the architecture. Simple, tough, and designed to be rebuilt, not binned. Ask any workshop that knows their way around an LS. Oztrack out in Penrith will tell you, these things regularly clock up over 300,000 Ks. And when the time comes, a full rebuild is a known quantity. 30 to 35 hours on the hoist, all the bits on the shelf, and a whole aftermarket world ready to keep you rolling. Crate motors, rebuild kits, performance upgrades. If you want to keep a VFSS Ute alive, the support's there. That's not something you can say for every modern powertrain. But the catch? These Utes have spent the last decade copping all sorts of treatment. You'll find plenty with hard miles, heavy mods, or a bit too much fun on the weekend. Cooling system neglected? That's a red flag. Rust, accident damage, dodgy repairs. Every old Holden has a story, so you've got to check the history. And with the market cottoning onto their status, clean examples are holding value rather than going for a song. Still, for the money, you get a Ute that'll tow, haul, and get the heart racing, all with a V8 you can actually fix in the shed. No diesel particulate filters, no AdBlue, just old-fashioned engineering and a massive owner community that knows the score. The VFSS Ute isn't just a legend because of the noise. It's the last of the homegrown V8 workhorses. And if you find one that's been looked after, it'll outlast plenty of newer, fancier metal. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's really worth paying for? A badge, a warranty, or a powertrain that'll go the distance? And finally, in first place, Toyota's Hilux 2.7 Workmate, the quiet achiever that's been hiding in plain sight on dealer yards for years. No turbo badges, no marketing fireworks, just a plain white single cab built for blokes who want a tool, not a toy. The 2TRFE under the bonnet is classic Toyota. Cast iron block, aluminium head, timing chain, hydraulic lash adjusters, and those all-important twin balancing shafts that keep the thing running smooth even after a decade of rough paddock work. Early models put out 111 kilowatts and 241 newton meters, with later ones nudging up to 120 kilowatts and 246 newton meters. Nothing to brag about at the pub, but plenty for a tray full of gear or a run to Bunnings. The Workmate's got a square bore and stroke, 95 by 95 millimeters, so it's not chasing revs, just steady, low-stress work. Intake, Viv to I, keeps the fuel burn sensible, and after 2015, dual VVTi makes it even more efficient and a bit less grumpy in traffic. Oil jet-cooled pistons are there for the long haul, not for show. You won't find a DPF, EGR valve or AdBlue tank anywhere. Just a simple three-way cat and the kind of emissions gear that doesn't turn a routine service into a saga. That's a big deal if you're out bush or just want to keep things simple. Now here's the catch. As of the 2026 model year, you can't walk into a Toyota dealer and order a new petrol Workmate. The official price sheet says currently unavailable, and the last listed 2.7 petrol is the 2025. From now on, it's diesel or nothing if you want brand new. That's pushed the used prices up a notch. These things used to be cheap as chips, but now a clean one with decent Ks is holding its value. Still, you're looking at a tray back that's cheaper to buy and easier to fix than a lot of the overcomplicated diesels on the lot. Servicing? Straightforward. Timing chain is good for the long run. Head gaskets are the weak link if you let it overheat or skimp on coolant changes. The main killer is neglect. Skip a service, ignore the temp gauge, and you'll be up for a head gasket job. Figure 3 to 4 hours in the shop, a couple of $100 for parts if you catch it early. Otherwise, it's just oil, filters, and the odd set of plugs. No horror stories about DPFs clogging up or turbo sensors spitting the dummy. But let's be straight, this isn't a ute for big towing or heavy loads day in, day out. The 2.7 petrol isn't built for 3-ton trailers or hauling bricks all week. It's for the tradie who wants a reliable workhorse, the farmer who needs a paddock basher that'll fire up first crank, or the weekend warrior who'd rather spend money on tools than on dealer diagnostics. There's not a mountain of high-mileage stories like you'll hear from Falcon or Commodore owners, but the ones you do find tell of engines still going strong past 200,000 Ks, sometimes more, with nothing but basic maintenance. If you're eyeing one on the used market, check the cooling system, look for any signs of overheating or milky oil, and make sure the service history isn't just a bunch of stamps. Get a proper inspection, head gaskets are fixable, but you don't want to buy someone else's cooked motor. Match the payload and towing to your actual needs, and you'll have a ute that's easy to live with, cheap to run, and doesn't need a PhD to fix. The Hilux 2.7 workmate never got the glory, but it's the ute that just keeps showing up, day after day, job after job. For the right buyer, it's the last of a dying breed, simple, honest, and built to outlast the fashion parade. Across all 3 of these Aussie petrol utes, one truth stands out. Durability isn't about diesel badges or dealer hype. It's about honest engineering you can actually fix in your own shed. Time and again, it's the simple, proven powertrains that keep firing up long after the finance is paid off. Hit subscribe and stick around for more quietly surprising stories.